afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the Living Coast Discovery Center. My name is Ayana and I'm one of the keepers here. We're just about to get started with a training session with Chevy, our Roadrunner. He's actually offering up a great behavior right now, and that is his scale. Now we'll see if he can decide between a tasty worm and his stick he was carrying around. But you'll see that Chevy was standing on top of that scale at the beginning of this training session. That is a starting behavior for him. This is a great way for us to make sure our animals are staying in tip-top health and, of course, in tip-top shape as we're working with them and as we are communicating and training with them too. Now, Chevy is a Roadrunner. Roadrunners are one of the native species we'll find here in San Diego County and throughout Southern California. In particular, Chevy is a greater Roadrunner, so he's a little bit bigger than some of the other ones you might see out in the wild too. Now, as I'm first working with Chevy here, especially as I'm talking to you guys, I'm going to kind of wait and just see what behaviors he decides to offer up to us as we're working with him. And I'm going to use this clicker as a clear form of communication when he offers up one of the behaviors I want to encourage, like hopping up onto that scale. Now that clicker tells him, yes, I've done something right. And it also tells him that there's going to be a snack coming his way too. Greater Roadrunners are oftentimes going to be seen eating different types of bugs. So you'll see him chowing down on some tasty super worms right now. They'll also eat things like crickets, other types of worms, and other creepy crawlies they might be able to find in ecosystems. We may also see them eating some larger animals too, like small mice. So as we finish up our session today, we're going to be rewarding with different types of food items to encourage different types of behaviors as well. And we'll see if he wants to come over here. It might be a little bit closer to you guys. Post. Now, after we have started to work on a behavior for a longer period of time, we may start to bring in different types of verbal cues with our Roadrunner and with the other animals that we work with here too. This allows us to create a little bit more of a clear communication and request behaviors as we're working with these animals. I'm going to see if I can lure him over with one of these super worms.
We have a question from Sarah. Where does he roost? Do they sleep in nests or burrows?
Oh, that's a great question. Chevy actually prefers to roost on that little platform just in the back of his exhibit there. These guys will prefer to roost in flatter spaces, so being in more open desert areas, there aren't going to be too many high trees for them to try and perch and build in. So they are going to be a little bit more opportunistic when it comes to finding those places they want to sleep in or eventually nest in as well. Now you might be able to see Chevy is moving around here. He's not flying very much. He might do low jumps, quick hops to different locations. But Roadrunners are going to prefer to move a little bit differently compared to other birds. They're going to prefer to glide and take short hops and, of course, run, as their name says. So instead of kind of going for long, soaring sprees, these guys will be a little bit more of a ground-dwelling species as they're moving around. Now, that's not to say Chevy isn't able to use those wings. He can still fly if he wants to. We are able to ask him to go to some of the higher perches and platforms in his exhibit here too as we're working with him. Now we'll notice that Chevy's feet are different from, let's say, a duck, good job, or a raptor. He's not going to have webbed feet for swimming. He's not going to have big talons for grabbing hold of prey items. Instead, he's going to have these very long toes that help him kind of spread out. Think of like snowshoes when it comes to moving through that type of surface. Those really long toes give him lots of balance and traction as he's moving through his environment too. I know he spies them. Now Chevy is here with us as an imprinted animal. He is no longer able to survive out in the wild because he doesn't have the instincts or the knowledge to keep his distance from humans. Now that can also make it difficult when it comes to hunting or finding his food. Good post. And it can also make it a little bit dangerous for him. Of course, where there are humans, there can be cars as well. And for wildlife, they may not know how to best navigate those types of situations. So when an animal does become a bit too reliant or too comfortable around people, that's often times when authorities may make the decision to reach out to different organizations about future care for animals like this. And because of Chevy's history and because of his comfortability around humans, does make him an excellent animal ambassador, an excellent candidate for our training program here too. There we go.
We have a question from Ashley. How old is he?
Oh, Chevy is just about 9 years old now, I believe. Yeah, he's been with us for most of that time as well, so we've had a great opportunity to build bonds with Chevy and of course build up that trust. As we're working with animals in this environment, we try and use positive reinforcement as the main way to communicate and work with them when it comes to training medical behaviors, as well as different types of behaviors, more so for mental stimulation and exercise too. Now, oftentimes we'll wait for him to offer up different types of behaviors or possibly ask for those behaviors as well. Can we come to our branch or our perch? We'll see if we might be able to check out some of Chevy's flying skills here. He might be a little shy on camera. Now for Roadrunners, they are going to be very visual, but they also have an excellent ability to hear and will make various sounds as well. Chevy is oftentimes taken to mimicking some of the mourning doves we have around here as well, so he'll hear low coos from him oftentimes. Can you try our branch? Let me spy something. Come up here. Little space here. Good job. There you go. You may also notice that crest on top of Chevy's head. That's something he will raise and lower as he engages with his environment, checks things out just a little bit more, and maybe tries to communicate with other roadrunners or other animals in that environment as well. And it's probably a little bit too difficult to see on this video, but you can always Google some cool footage of it. Maybe we can even post a picture in the comments later. But Roadrunners will get this beautiful orange and blue orbital patch, it's called. And this oftentimes comes about in breeding season. So just behind Chevy's eye, you might see that little open space there, that bare patch of skin, and that's what's going to change color. Now, we will see variance in the males and females, and for birds, it's oftentimes the males who will have a darker orbital patch or a darker coloration that comes in, trying to attract other females too. Now, one of the biggest ways we're able to help out roadrunners and conserve them in our nearby habitats is by, of course, giving them their space, making sure we are respectful of that boundary between us and the wild. Being able to observe them is amazing, but making sure just to keep it at that as we engage in their environment. Now, further, we also want to make sure we can preserve their habitat. Being cautious and careful as we're moving through that space, keeping things just the way they are when we go to visit. Also not introducing any trash or pollution to those environments and habitats. You can see Chevy's a very intelligent animal, very inquisitive too. So he's oftentimes going to be checking things out, picking things up. Because they don't have hands like you and I, it's usually their beaks that they're going to use. So we want to make sure we're not leaving behind anything that could possibly be dangerous for a roadrunner or any of their neighbors out in the wild too. Good job. Here it is. Good job, Chevy. Now, though we are still closed to the public here at the Living Coast Discovery Center, we are still caring for the animals here with us, and hopefully being able to engage with you guys a little bit more at home through these videos, teaching a little bit about the animals that we have here. If you guys have any questions, feel free to comment below in the section. We'll do our best to make sure we get you some of those answers too. He is at 322 grams according to the scale right now. It's a little on the hefty side for our friend Chevy. But we will see, especially as the temperatures change, we're going through a bit of a heat wave right now, that's also going to affect their appetite. Good job. And how much energy they're burning as well. You may have heard fish and reptiles being called cold-blooded animals, and of course mammals like us, warm-blooded. But birds are a little bit different. They're called modified ectotherms, which means they're kind of like reptiles, but kind of like a mammal too. So they're going to have different energy requirements when it comes to the various seasons we have. We will need to adjust the diet for them accordingly. Birds are also going to go through a molting phase as well. So you may have noticed in his exhibit right now there's lots of feathers everywhere, which is a clear indication Chevy is actually just wrapping up his molting for this season. He likes that rock today.
We have a question from Diana. What is his diet?
Oh, that's a great question. Here with us, Chevy is going to be getting things like superworms. I also have a few small mice as a reward for him today too. And if I can catch grasshoppers and crickets that might be flying around or hopping around, those are one of his favorite snacks too. So they are primarily eating about 90% of their diet consists of insects out in the wild. And they will sometimes supplement with different types of fruits and veggies, it's been observed. But also maybe smaller mammals too that could be around. But you'll see he's very visual, checking out everything I offer him, trying to decide if he wants it or not.
We have another question from Jennifer. Do we keep any of his feathers for things like children's projects?
We will sometimes hold on to feathers for various projects. However, many birds are actually protected under the Migratory Bird Species Act. This actually includes the collection of their feathers, both here with us and out in the wild. So we oftentimes will keep holding on to them and maybe use them for educational purposes more so than anything with the kids who do get to visit or had previously visited. We are still holding on to quite a few of them, but most of these down feathers will start to break down pretty quickly. But a lot of those flight feathers, the feathers towards the outside of his body, have a more rigid construction, and those are going to be ones that do hold up a little bit longer. No, he's just holding on to that mouse. Oh! Good job. That is the cooing sound we're trying to bring under behavior as well. You can see Chevy likes to spend his time just kind of checking things out. As such an intelligent animal, he's highly visual, and he'll observe the other birds around him, us moving around him, all the sounds and colors that are around him too. So this is all excellent enrichment and provides him with lots of mental stimulation as well as physical stimulation throughout his day too. Good job, Chevy.
We have one other question from Debbie. Can they fly like other birds?
They can fly short distances. They're more of gliders, so they'll open up those wings, so we'll oftentimes see that type of behavior if you were able to capture that one on camera. but they're not really going to kind of take off and soar. Now we're just stockpiling. They're not really going to be able to take off and soar like other birds you might think of. So just those short distances, pretty low to the ground, not too high up in the sky. That's going to be where the Roadrunner is most comfortable. Hey, bud. Get his scale out of the way. Alrighty, it's just about time for us to wrap up the session with him here. But feel free to continue commenting, asking questions. We'll do our best to answer those for you. We look forward to seeing you guys again once we are open. And tune in on our Facebook page and on our Instagram for more cool videos and pictures of the animals we have here too. Stay safe and stay healthy, and have a great rest of your day.